So the next technique we're going to have a look at is mind mapping. So mind mapping is a visual representation of what you're thinking and also how you're thinking. Mind maps are spatial, not linear. And you're capturing ideas and categorizing them at the same time, which we'll see shortly. You can use mind maps to take notes in class, brainstorm, plan your research, represent your literature review. And actually on the next page, I'm going to show you part of the mind map that I created for my master's literature review. But before we get there, I'm just going to show you a website, and the address for the website is provided in the resources, which takes you to an incredible free mind mapping site with very many how-tos and techniques. So here it is. It's called IQ Matrix and gives you a pretty complete guide on how to mind map for beginners. There's lots of resources here offering you 90 more free visual tools, videos on how to mind map, etc. So I strongly recommend that you have a look at that website. We'll move on now to have a look at the mind map that I created for my master's literature review. And I incorporated this mind map in my actual master's dissertation when I handed it in. People liked it because it does give a one-page view on what the literature review looks like. So remember that the keywords and our research questions drive our research. So you need to keep those in mind at all time. My master's research was on the perceived return on investment of an MBA. And the first thing I needed to do when looking up the literature was to have a look at my keywords and see what the main topics are that I needed to look up. And they included the concepts of adult education, return on investment. I needed to look at the education legislation in South Africa. And the main thing was management development as a concept. There were others, but for the purpose of illustration, I just captured those four here. So looking at the literature on management development, for example, and I was looking at the MBA, clearly there needed to be a subheading on the MBA itself. So I wrote that down and started reading the literature on the MBA. And some of the subheadings that came up were looking at the structure and content of the course. There was some literature on the cost of an MBA worldwide, and quite a lot on quality standards. So I captured those as part of the subheadings. Another big area was management competencies. So there was a lot of literature on that, and the literature was broken down into generic competencies and specific ones, and even more detail under those subheadings. For example, generic, thinking, communicating, and so on. And under specific, it was your normal syllabus, like innovation, entrepreneurship, strategy, and the like. So that was how I created my mind map. And there's quite a nice resource from Sikinski, which will give you a guide on how to actually mind map. It's very useful, and it's included in the resources and is part of the website that I just showed you. So now have a shot at doing it for yourself. There's a lot of free software for mind mapping, or of course you can do it manually on your flip chart or your whiteboard, but you can have a look for the free software, and of course you can buy more sophisticated mind mapping software if you would like to do that.